Go to home page and touch gear icon. Enter the correct password. First click on basic setting. Then click on other. Change meter mode to meter plus CT. Turn on the AC couple switch. Click confirm and return to system setup 1. First click on system setting. Then click on work mode. Change work mode to 0 watt to CT. When PV power generation is greater than the load, PV supplies power to the load first. The excess power charges the battery, and the excess power of the on-grid inverter flows into the grid. When the load power decreases, the power output to the grid increases. When the battery SOC equals 100%, the hybrid inverter performs load-limited output, and the on-grid inverter outputs all power to the grid. When PV power generation is less than the load, PV, battery, grid supply power to the load simultaneously. When the battery discharges to the set SOC or low BAT, it stops outputting, and the grid output power increases. When the work mode is changed to selling, and the EMS mode is battery first, PV prioritizes charging the battery, and the grid supplies power to the load. When the battery is charged to SOC equals 100%, charging stops. PV supplies power to the load, and the grid's power purchase decreases. When the load power decreases, the excess PV power is output to the grid. With EMS mode changed to load first, when PV power is greater than the load, PV prioritizes supplying power to the load, then supplies power to the battery and grid in sequence. The greater the output power of the hybrid inverter and on-grid inverter, the greater the grid export power. When PV power is less than the load, PV, battery, and grid supply power to the load in order. Go to home page and touch gear icon. Enter the correct password. First click on basic setting. Then click on other. Change meter mode to CT. Turn on the AC couple switch. Click confirm and return to system setup 1. Scroll down to page 2. First click on gen setting. Then click on gen port use. Change gen port type to AC couple. Modify the SOC for battery on and off. The BAT off set value needs to be greater than the on set value. In 0 watt to CT and load first mode, PV, battery, and grid supply power to the load in order. If the load power decreases, the grid stops purchasing power, and the excess PV power charges the battery. When the battery is charged to BAT off, the gen relay opens, and the hybrid inverter reduces output. In 0 watt to CT and battery first mode, PV prioritizes charging the battery, with excess power supplied to the load, and the grid purchases power to supplement. When the battery is charged to BAT off, the gen relay opens. The hybrid inverter prioritizes charging the battery, with excess power supplied to the load, and the grid purchases power to supplement. When the battery is charged to SOC 100%, the battery stops charging. The hybrid inverter supplies all power to the load, and the grid's power purchase decreases. When the load power decreases, the grid stops purchasing power, and the hybrid inverter reduces output. In off-grid mode, PV prioritizes supplying power to the load, and excess power charges the battery. When the battery SOC reaches BAT off -1%, the hybrid inverter's output frequency slowly rises to the AC couple frequency high. The on-grid inverter starts to implement the over-frequency load reduction function, and its output power decreases. When the battery SOC reaches BAT off +1%, the gen port relay closes, and the on-grid inverter stops working. When the battery SOC reaches 100%, the battery stops charging, and the hybrid inverter reduces output.